I'm not yet sure who's in here. Let me take this opportunity.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, honorable members of the committee.
Thank you, good DG. Thank you, DG. Honorable members, today again, we are back to look at our annual report of our department. I'm suspecting we've read the presentation, and we're supposed to have one other, what is this? Chairs, they've apologized, and I've asked the office that it must circulate that the request that they are asking not to come, and they've put down their reasons. Here we are today again to interact with our department. So it's ourselves, department, and I'm suspecting now that department, you are present, and I'm not sure. I'm introducing you that we are present, and then if we can get apologies, honorable members. So, Lega.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning to members of the committee, to the acting DG and colleagues. We have an apology from the Minister, who is accompanying President Ramaphosa to receive the President of Sarahawi Arab Democratic Republic. We also have an apology from the Deputy Minister, who is Kwambonambi in KZN, for a stakeholder engagement in her constituency. Those are the two apologies, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I've forgotten. Sometimes I do forget to greet you because we're nothing without your office and your colleagues. And most of the time I do forget to greet you because the reasons are, first in the morning, I do speak to you as a collective. Now I must do also officially to welcome you doing this stand job. Honorable members, any other apology from members? If not, can honorable members accept apologies? Honorable Adams.
Chairperson, I move for the adoption of the apologies. Thank you.
Okay. I don't see any other hands contrary to that. Honorable. Okay, thank you so much. Honorable members, today let's welcome the department led by Acting DG Ndima to take us through, and if they do have apology themselves, they will tell us who is here, and then they must just get to the issues. I don't know by the second language, which is not mine. In Xhosa, we used to say when abantu besidla ilifa lam sendingasekho kuthiwa xa ukhawuleza uqaqamisa ngokudla ilifa ekomntana womqakhwe. Ndifuna senzeni loo nto ke namhlanje. Acting DG.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Ms. Adams adopted the apologies and not the agenda. Can we please adopt the agenda, Madam Chair?
Thank you so much. Anyone who's, thank you for that. Honorable members, the agenda is in front of you. I'm still seeing the hand of Honorable Adams. Honorable Adams.
Chairperson, I move for the adoption of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Malomani.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Greetings to everyone. I second Honorable Adams. Thank you.
Hoping that you have done well in your exams. We are welcoming you back. We missed you. Thank you so much. Acting teaching them.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson. Good morning to the honorable members of the committee. I have got a huge delegation today. I think if I were to start introducing them, Chair, we might just lose time. I don't know whether you want me to.
No, there's nothing wrong. Introduce
Thank you very much.
Because this is your day.
Okay, thank you very much. With the department, we have all DDGs, DDG Kumalo, DDG Khan, DDG Chikwatamba. We also have the Minister's Advisor, Mr. Tiamzashe. We've got Mr. Mngube, who is the Chief Director and within the Sport and Recreation, Ms. Ralibipi, who is in the DG's office. We've got Mr. Mukwera also in the Sport and Recreation branch. We also have Mr. Mtsina also in the same branch. We have got Mr. Nkanunu, who is in the ministry. We've got Mr. Muditambi, who is representing the CFO. And maybe this is an opportunity for me, Chairperson, to then indicate that the CFO is not here because of medical reasons or things that he needs to attend to. We've got Mr. Mutsai also in the finance. We've got Mr. Watani, who is in the ministry, and also Mr. Tebehaya, who is also from the Sport and Recreation section. That's the delegation that I have.
You did take us very serious. Thank you, DG. You took this committee of yours very serious, because if we're going to deal about annual reports, the questions are going to be all over your department, DDGs, and your staff at large. We do appreciate what you have done to be here, all of you. I thank you. We appreciate this.
I thank you, Honorable Chair, and maybe I can proceed with the presentation. Yes. I'll take the first part of the presentation, and the second part of the presentation is going to be taken by Mr. Muditambi. Now, I'm not going to waste time by looking at the table of contents, but just to say it's very important that I indicate that we are here to report on the 2021-2022 annual performance of this department as part of our accountability, and also to enable the committee to provide oversight on the work that we're doing. Now, moving to the next slide, we are looking at what characterized the year under review. We know that there was a state of emergency by the President of South Africa in 2019. And also we know that we're coming from the July unrest, where there was a wave of civil unrest which saw violence and looting in parts of KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng. We also coming from the floods in KwaZulu-Natal that happened in April. And of course, we know that the scourge of GBV-F among women, children, and LGBTQIA+ person in the country, it became a threat to our social cohesion and democracy, and it continues to be as such. And contextualizing the work of the department and its delivery agents in the time of COVID-19, our responsibility and our duty to the nation is to cause social cohesion and nation building. And we know that that requires people to share common spaces. And of course, with COVID, that was not possible because what was being encouraged was social distancing. And of course, in terms of traveling, there were limitations in terms of traveling. We couldn't go to to some of the national events and international events. And we are reliant on other sectors. And they should be functional for us to do our work. For instance, if you look at the work that we do in the education sector, we rely also on provinces as delivery agencies. And of course, many DZEC beneficiaries, that is artists and athletes, derive their sole source of income from engaging in DZEC supported programs. So the COVID-19 had a negative impact on all that. Then when we look at the highlights of the cultural creative industries, we're looking at that SACCO's 2022 mapping study outcomes, which was also indicating to us the contribution of various sectors to the GDP. I'm not going to be staying here, Chairperson, because of the time limitations, but the slide does break down what various subsectors contribute to GDP. And of course, the second slide, slide 6, it then begins to talk about work that has been happening, the partnership between Arts Bank and CIFSA, the social cohesion dialogues that were held as part of mitigating also gender-based violence and femicide, but also instances of attack to foreign nationals. And we're looking at work that has been done where we have, our work has produced 5,231 language practitioners. We're looking at heritage bursaries, the libraries that have been established, as well as those that have been upgraded, then changes of towns, cities, airports, and villages, as well as post office as part of the transformation of the heritage landscape. And also we look at the support that we gave to a total of 37 learners who were identified during National Sports Championship, the Andrew Lang and the Green Jacket Awards in honor of country sport legends, and of course the 8 beneficiaries that were awarded, 2,309 learners who participated in National School Sports Championship, 4,732 school hubs and clubs that were provided with equipment, 101,740 learners who participated in district school sport tournaments, and over 2,416 teachers being trained, over 252 jobs being created for school sport coordinators, and over 181 school sport structures being supported. And also over and above the support that we have given to Boxing SA, a special support to the South African National Boxing Organization, which is an amateur wing of boxing in the country. This wing has established and managed to participate in Zone 4 boxing championships held in Maputo, Mozambique on 18 April 2022. Also, we've continued to support much needed support to 61 sport and recreation bodies with special focus on organizational sustainability, priority programs and projects. And of course, over 100 municipalities were supported on technical norms and standards for sport and recreation infrastructure. So these are the highlights, Chair, that I needed to just skim through them. Now, the next slide, it then begins to give you a sense of the performance of the department. There is a bit of an improvement, 2% improvement in the 2021-2022 financial year as compared to 2020-2021 financial year. And this is a pie chart that just also confirms that. And then, of course, we now look at those areas where we could not achieve. They are highlighted here. You can see program 1, number of services modernized, which was supposed to be 2, but we were able to achieve only 1. Number of learners in the National Sport Championship per year, we were supposed to do 5,000, but we only able to do 2.3. The percentage of federations meeting 50% or more of all prescribed transformation charters. There you can see the percentages also that we were supposed to achieve, which was 78.9, but we were only able to achieve 57%. Community or number of community outdoor gyms and children's play parks constructed. We aimed at 10, but we were only able to achieve 6. Legacy projects, where we developed and maintained exhibitions, number of heritage legacy facilities, actually. We aimed at 3, but we could not achieve all of them. Number of community arts development programs implemented per year, we aimed at 9, but only achieved 7. Number of moral regeneration movement projects financially supported, we're supposed to do 5, but we couldn't do any of them. Social compact for social cohesion and nation building, we're supposed to do 1, but we could not be able to do. Number of monitoring reports on the implementation of a social compact for social cohesion, we're supposed to do 2, but we could not do any of them. And then program 4, number of students awarded with heritage bursaries per year, we're supposed to give 65, but we're only able to achieve 61. And then number of heritage legacy projects where exhibition content is developed, it was 3, but we were only able to do 1. Now, this is a graphic representation of the various programs in the department and their achievements. Now we can move to the next item where we talk about program 1, which includes the ministry management, strategic management, corporate services, office of the financial officer, and office accommodation. And of course, just to indicate, there are targets. Target was percentage of interns enrolled against funded posts. There are about 5. That was 5%, but we were able to exceed that by 0.6%. And then it is explained why there was such a deviation. And the number of services modernized, processes automated. We needed to do 2, but we were able to do 1. But I'm glad to report that the South African Geographical Name System was completed only and was launched in September this year. It is done, but in the time of reporting, it had not been achieved. And it has been explained why that was the case. And then the number of sport, arts and culture awareness campaigns activated to profile the work of the department. We're able to achieve that, as you can see, honorable members. And then percentage of invoices paid within 30 days, we were able to achieve 100%. Percentage of councils boards that are fully constituted, also we were able to achieve that. And I move to program 2, honorable chairperson, where we have got this program that has got following sub-programs: Winning Nation, Active Nation, Sport Support, Infrastructure Support. Also here, number of athletes supported through the Scientific Support Program per year. Here we had just aimed at 80, but we far exceeded this by 262, and the reasons have been stated. And then the number of athletes supported by sports academies, here we were looking at 3.7, but it was far exceeded by 5,159. And the reasons also are stated there. And then the number of people actively participating in organized sport and active recreation events, here we were looking at 330,000, but we were able to exceed that by 2,053. And we have also stated the reason why there was such a positive deviation. And then the number of sport and recreation promotion campaigns and events implemented, we had aimed at 8, and we were exactly able to do 8. And then number of school hubs and clubs provided with equipment or attire as per the established norms and standards, we're aiming at 2.5, and we far exceeded that by 2,232, and we have stated the reasons. And then the one that was problematic is the number of learners in the National School Sport Championship per year, where we were aiming at 5,000, but we were only able to achieve 2,309. So there was a deficit of 2,609. And of course, we are stating the reason there: the postponement of the scheduled winter championship in June 2021 and the summer championship in December 2021. I thought that let me explain this one more particularly because it's a negative deviation, Chairperson. And then a number of learners participating in the district school sport tournament. We aimed at 75,000, and we were able to exceed that by 26,740. Then the other one, which was problematic, is the percentage of national federations meeting 50% or more of all prescribed transformation charter targets. Here, the percentage that we were looking at is 78.9%, but we were only able to achieve 21%. And of course, we have stated that the reason that in the year under review, the aim was to have 15 of the 19 national federations subscribe to the transformation charter targets. From these 15 national federations, only 5 met the transformation charter targets, thus resulting in a deviation of 11 national federations. Then we move to a number of municipalities provided with technical and or management support during construction. We're looking at 50, but we did exceed this by 56%. And we have stated the reason. Number of community outdoor gyms and children's play parks constructed. We didn't do well here, Honorable Chairperson. We were unable to, we were only able to achieve 6 instead of 10. And then the number of heritage legacy facilities, including resistance and liberation heritage sites, developed and or maintained to transform the national heritage landscape. This continues to obstruct the work of the department in terms of the infrastructure development, which we are really working hard to overcome this challenge. Of course, sometimes the dependencies that we have with implementing agencies. And then we move to program 3. This is the branch that has got the following sub-programs: the National Language Services, the Cultural and Creative Industries Development, International Cooperation, Social Cohesion and Nation Building, Mzansi Golden Economy, National Film and Video Foundation. Then I go to the first target, which is about the number of multi-year human language technologies projects supported. Here, we had set the target of 4, but we were able to exceed that by 2. And then we have got the second target, which was about the percentage of official documents received that are translated and or edited. We're able to do 100% of documents received. And then the number of bursaries awarded for the development of qualified language practitioners as per year. It was the target of 250, which was exceeded by 51. And then the number of local and international market access platforms financially supported, we were able to do exactly what we had targeted. And then number of capacity building projects financially supported, here, again, Chairperson, we were able to do exactly what we were supposed to do. And then here I come to the problematic one, which is the number of provincial community arts development programs implemented per year. Here we had set the target of 9, but unfortunately we were only able to do 7 with a deficit of 2. But of course, there are reasons for non-achievement. Number of international engagements coordinated, set ourselves 20, and we were able to do 3 more than what we had said. Then number of moral regeneration movement projects financially supported. I think this is what I've highlighted in the previous slides where I was talking about those that we did not achieve. And then number of community conversation dialogues held to foster social interaction per year. We were able to do exactly 20. That was our set target. Number of youth-focused arts development programs, we did exactly 4 as per the plan. The number of advocacy platforms on social cohesion implemented by social cohesion advocacy, we were able to do more, 27 more. Of course, there are contributing factors. For instance, we had to intervene, do community dialogues in the areas of unrest and racial tensions in KwaZulu-Natal. A social compact for social cohesion and nation building. This one also was not achieved. Delays in the consultations and completion of a social compact for social cohesion and nation building is the reason why this was not achieved. Number of monitoring reports on the implementation of the social compact for social cohesion and nation building. These monitoring reports, this was not achieved because monitoring reports on the implementation of a social compact for social cohesion and nation building are dependent on the existence of the compact. The number of GPVF programs financially supported, we were able to do, the target was 1 program. And of course, we were able to do this using 3 projects. Number of projects in the creative industry supported through the Mzansi Golden Economy Program, the set target was 67, we were able to do 68. And then the number of artists placed in schools per year, it was 300, and we were able to do 325. Number of reports produced by SACCO, we were able to do exactly what we were planned to do. And then the number of films and documentaries supported telling stories of the history of the liberation and cultural and heritage importance. We did 10 as per the plan. Now I move to program 4, Chairperson, where we're dealing with archival, heraldic, and cultural heritage. And the sub-programs here is heritage promotion, National Archive Services, Public Library Services, South African Geographical Names Council. And of course, the first program, which is number of students awarded with heritage bursaries, we had planned to do 65, but we were only able to achieve 61. And I think it's also indicated there that for completeness of reporting and to reconcile with budget allocation, it is important to note that 66 students were supported. However, there was incomplete or inadequate evidence to substantiate support to 5 students, and thus the target was declared as not achieved. And then the number of books documenting living human treasures, we had set the target of 5, we were able to do 6, and we have given an explanation because as we were planning, we wanted to do 1 book that encompassed Ms. Mulu and Mr. Semenya, but they wanted to be documented separately. Number of public awareness activations of the I'm the Flag campaign, we're able to do more than what we had put in the target by 17 more. And then the number of flags provided in schools, we had set ourselves a target of 100, but we're able to do 125. Heritage policies, we're able to do exactly the 2 policies. Workshops to advance knowledge of national symbols, we have set ourselves a target of 10, but we exceeded by 13. And then the number of heritage legacy projects where exhibition content is, we were able to complete 1 exhibition with Winnie Madikizela Mandela. The outstanding one is Owar Tambo and Sarah Baartman. Given the problem, of course, that we have indicated around Sarah Baartman project. Then the number of progress reports on resistance and liberation heritage root sites, 1 report, and that was done. Number of records digitized, we were having a target of 180, but I must indicate that we were able to do 476, exceeding by 296, thanks to those unemployed graduates that we were able to acquire through the Presidential Employment Stimulus Program. And then the number of newly built and or modular libraries supported financially, that was 26, which was our target, but we were able to do 34. And then the number of Gazette notices on standardized geographical names, we had set the target of 3, and we were able to do 4. That brings me to an end of my part of presentation, Honorable Chair. If I may then hand over to the CFO to then just take you through the financials. Thank you.
Thank you, DG. CFO.
Thank you, DG, Chairperson and member of the Portfolio Committee and colleagues. My name is Rabelani Muditambi. I'll take through the presentation on the financials. If we can move to slide 4, Chairperson.
Show your face first and foremost, and then you can switch it off. Video.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Yes. You can switch it off. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. The executive summary of the financial performance for financial year 21-22 as follows. The final appropriation for financial 21-22 was 5.7 billion as at 31st March 2022, and the overall spending was sitting at 5.6 billion, which translates to 98.2%. And then moving to the economic classification for the financial performance of that financial year, the compensation of employees final appropriation was sitting at 379 million, and the spending was sitting at 335.9 million, which translates to 88.6%. And the underspending of 43.1 million is due to various positions which were at different stages of selection process at that time. Then the goods and services final appropriation was sitting at 512.6 million, and the spending was sitting at 507.8 million, translating to 99.1%. And the underspending amounting to 44.7 million was due to a treasury exemption, which relate to the court order, constitutional court judgment relating to the preferential procurement process that was issued by a constitutional court, and that has negatively impacted the department in terms of spending in the towards the end of the financial year. And then the next slide, talking about the provinces and municipalities, which is our conditional grants. The spending there was at 100%. There was no underspending. Those are our conditional grants, mass participation, and community libraries. And then the departmental agencies, we were sitting at 100% as well. So the spending was at 100%, and I think there was issue in relation to PESP and also the PACOF internal process, which were found to be irregular and could not transfer more due to that process, which needed to be resolved first before we can transfer. And the departmental agencies capital, we could not spend 100% on that. The final appropriation was 301.9 million, and we only managed to spend 497.8 million, which translates to 98.6%. So there's a 2% variance there, which was in relation to IZICO and South African Library for Blind invoices, which were supposed to be received from DPW, but were not received by end of the financial year, which also impacted us not to spend 100% on that. And then the higher education institutions, the differences there was 25.9%, which we could not spend, which translates to 1.5 million, which was owing to the University of Stellenbosch, which did not submit the compliance documents so that we can then action the transfer. So we could not transfer that because of the compliance information that were not complete. Then there was issue in relation to foreign governance and international organization. So here, one could say we have spent according to the plans, but the money could not be spent in full due to the exchange rate, because when the currency is stronger, we usually pay less because we're relating to the exchange rate due to foreign currency fluctuation there. Then the public cooperation and private enterprise, we only managed to spend 91.3%, which gave us the variance of 8.7%. And this translated to 10.3 million, which was not spent in the financial year. That is in relation to MGE, where they could not obtain all the documents in terms of the contracts and contract requirement, and also to fulfill us to be able to do the following tranches with regard to those transfers. And then also the capacity within the department in terms of contracting, as the department approved high number of applications in terms of the call for proposal, and then also the creation of item for those transfers, which requires us to liaise with National Treasury. So that has delayed us in terms of processing those transfers, and then we resulted with the underspending of 10.3 million. And then the non-profit institution, there we spent 98%, and we got a variance of 2%, which amount to 6 million. And that was due to last tranche with regard to moral regeneration movement, which could not be made due to the submission of audited financial reports, because the requirement requires us to get the audited financial report before we can transfer, so that we can see whether the money was used for the intended purpose. And then also the Community Art Center, where the budget was sitting under the NPI, but when we questioned the classification of the transaction, we found that in fact it's supposed to be departmental agencies. So there was misclassification of budget and expenditure there. And then the less requests received for the Deputy Minister of Financial Assistance. And also we were impacted by heritage projects where the invoices are received from DPW and we need to transfer to the institutions, like the entities where the research projects are taking place. Then the non-profit institutions, we managed to spend 94%, and 6% was not spent there, which amount to 2.9 million. And that was due to the Foundation project not completed in line with the MOA, and also the request to reclassify the amount, which was declined by National Treasury. So the money was sitting elsewhere. So when we needed to apply for environment, so National Treasury declined the request. We could not proceed with the transfer because we're going to be regulated if we proceed. The next slide is regarding the household transfers. There, under household transfers, usually we pay such things as university bursaries for professional research, qualified language practitioner, athletes, and MGE funding for individual, and also some social benefits. So the underspending there was amounting to 3.7 million, which was due to less requests received for the financial assistance from the minister and deputy minister with regard to those ones that can be classified as household. And also the difficulty in obtaining the compliance document with regard to MGE, because when we do the first transfer, we need to request the compliance document for us to be able to proceed with the second tranche and third tranche. And without those, we do not proceed. And as a result, we underspend. And then the capacity with the department in terms of the contracting, our legal services, so also impacted us because there was a delay there. Then the next slide regarding the machinery and equipment, we spent only 34% there, and then 66% was not spent, which amount to 16.4 million. And that was as a result of the department awaiting for the storage from Ireland. And then we did a procurement process, and there was a delay in terms of receiving the storage from overseas with regard to National Archive storage. And also we're waiting for delivery of telephone and set, whereby the SITA was involved in that transaction, but then that delivery could not take place in time. And also the approval of the appointment of service provider to install security equipment, which was granted by the accounting officer towards the end of March, and could not spend in relation to that. And the budget was reserved for that kind of expenditure. Then there are also heritage assets, whereby we spent only 91.6%, and 8.4% was not spent, which amount to 7.3 million. That was due to the outstanding invoices with regard to National HVAC project were not submitted with full supporting documents. So this is the construction project for HVAC, where we needed to do checks and balances, but all the information was not submitted, so we could not proceed because the officers were not gonna be happy with us on that. Then the request for deviation in the procurement of sculpture for the Gitan tool were declined by National Treasury. So we wanted to apply for the deviation, then Treasury did not approve the deviation. And we had to go back to procurement process, which took long. Then also the building and other fixed structure where we spent 100% there, and payment for financial assets, we spent 100%. And then the next slide will be reflecting the figures in terms of programs, how much we spent per program. Program administration, the budget was 497 million, and then we managed to spend 495 million, and then 37 million was not spent, and then the variation, the actual spending was sitting at 92.4%. And then recreation and development and sport promotion, underspending there was sitting at 20%, 20 million, which the spending was at 98.5%. And then ACCPD, which is arts and culture promotion and development, 1.2 billion. And then this underspending there was sitting at 31 million, which amount to 97.6%. And heritage promotion preservation, underspending was 13.9 million, which amount to 99.5% the spending. So in overall, the underspending, the variance was sitting at 103 million, which amount to the spending, as I indicated in the beginning. The spending was sitting at 98.2%. And then we move to the next slide. That is the reflection of the spending, the overall spending for the department per economic classification. As I was indicating in the executive summary there, the compensation of employees there, the goods and services there reflected with the percentage and the transfer payments. And then the next slide, you will see the capital and the payments for capital assets, and then also all the breakdown in terms of that category. So, and maybe tying the total amount of spending sitting at 5.6 billion, and also underspending of 103 million, which is already surrendered by now. Then slide 16, reflecting the spending per program, which is now the program administration. There's a spending per sub-program reflected there, but then the overall spending, as I indicated in the previous slide, the administration underspending by 37.9 million, sitting at 92.4%. And then there's the next slide, we're reflecting the spending for administration per economic classification, where the honorable members can see the compensation of employees for administration sitting at 20 million, 88.9%. And then goods and services for administration underspending sitting at 104,000. And then transfer payments there, we don't necessarily have transfer payments under administration, so it's 4,000 is in relation to perhaps the social benefits. And then there's also in slide 19, where we are giving the executive summary for the program administration. Majority of those reasons are already indicated in the executive summary for the whole department, where I was indicating the fact that the compensation of employees, the positions were in a various stage of recruitment process, and goods and services, the impact there was regarding the exemption from Treasury as a result of the Constitutional Court judgment, and then the machinery and equipment storage that are indicated, and the SITA issues, and then the appointment of service provider for security equipment, and then moving to program 2 in page 20. We are indicating the sub-programs there, and the spending in terms of sub-programs. And then slide 21 is economic classification for program 2, where we are indicating the spending of that program in terms of the economic classification, the compensation of employees, and the goods and services. The spending there sitting at 71 million, and underspending sitting at 2 million, and then the overall spending for that program in terms of the budget was sitting at 1.3 billion, and then the underspending there is 20 million, amounting to 98.5% for that program. Slide 23, we are slide 23, we are reflecting to, zooming into that program in terms of the reasons for underspending or the variance in terms of the financial performance. Then the goods and services underspending of 2 million was in relation to that court judgment, as we indicated. And then going to the transfer, there's also the underspending in terms of the departmental agencies' capital in relation to library for blinds and DPW invoices that were not received in time, and non-profit institution capital, where there was a delayed receipt of reports from the National Arts Festival in terms of the upgrading of old power station. That also we could not pay the transfer because of not receiving the report as part of the compliance that needed for us to action the payments. The Kefas Siminya was not completed in terms of the MOA, and also the request for environment that was declined by National Treasury in that sub-program. And under slide number 24, we are reflecting in terms of the heritage assets, where the underspending in relation to HVAC, because that's the budget for heritage assets is sitting under program 2. So then the HVAC there we could not pay because of the outstanding invoices and information that must be accompanying the invoices. For us to be able to pay, we need to receive the complete documents so that we can satisfy ourselves. And then the issue in relation to the sculpture of Professor Pikita Ntuli, the deviation that was declined by National Treasury happened in that sub-program. Sub-program 3, under slide number 25, we're reflecting the spending there in terms of the sub-programs, National Language Services and International Relations and National Arts Council. Some of them, they spend 100%, and others, they've got variances. Like MGE, Mzansi Golden Economy, they've got variance there, as we indicated in the previous slide, that we could not obtain all the compliance documents to process that. And then if you go to slide 26, we are reflecting the economic classification for the same program, where the compensation of employees, goods and services, municipal and provincial and municipal, spending 100% there. That's where there's 1 million that was spent 100%. And then moving to next slide, 27, there's also reflecting the total of spending in that program. And slide 28, we were reflecting the reasons, zooming into that sub-program, where we indicating that the underspending of 7.7 million due to number of possessions under the compensation of employees, due to number of the possessions that could not be filled, but they are in the different stages of procurement process. The goods and services, we indicated that the amount of 432,000 due to progress report for South African Cultural Observatory received after 31st March, and the invoice was only processed in April. And then the departmental agencies and the grants, there was three entities that declined the allocation as a result of a rollover that was approved late by National Treasury. So these provinces, these entities saw that they did not have enough time now to spend that money, so they declined the allocation, and that money was not, later on, was not transferred. So it's part of what was done in the National Treasury. And then the other reason for the under 3.5 million was the issue relating to pack-off internal process that were found to be regular. And then the department took a decision that they need to work on the process, implement the financial management process that are effective and efficiency for us if we can transfer the money. And then the higher education, the underspending of 1.5 million was due to Stellenbosch University could not submit the compliance information, and then we decided that we could not pay until we receive all the information that are required for us to process the payment. Then the public corporation and private enterprise, and a spending of 10 million was as a result of difficulties in obtaining compliance documents with regard to complete the contracts, and that delayed us in terms of contracting, and so that we can then process the payments. And the capacity in the DAC as well, and the creation of item regarding those transfers that needed us to create the item first on the system. And those items are created by National Treasury, can only rely on them. So then the non-profit institution, underspending of 4.4 million was due to the last tranche for moral regeneration movement, what that could not be paid since we did not receive all the information that required us to do the last tranche. So then, and then also the issue relating to the misalignment of budget, as I indicated, the budget was sitting under NPI, but the expenditure between us and the auditors, we saw that it should be the departmental agencies, not necessarily the NPI. So it's reflecting the underspending on the other side, but it was spent on the other side. Then the last requests received for the Deputy Minister for Financial Assistance. Then the household in that area, under slide number 30, where we had difficulties in obtaining the MGE beneficiaries, the contracts there, and then the capacity to contract relating to the MGE as well, where the department approved a high number of applications for financial assistance and MGE call for proposal, so could not finalize the contract there in terms of vetting process that is required to the legal services. Then slide number 31, where we're talking about the breakdown of heritage promotion and preservation. Honorable members, acting DG and colleagues, you can see some of the sub-programs there. They spent 100%, and then National Archive Services, the one that has the huge underspending. This is a result of the reasons that we are reflecting in slide number 34 there, where we're saying the underspending of 10.7 million is in relation to the posts that could not be filled, while others are in the different stage of recruitment process. And then goods and services, 1.5 million owing to the appointed service provider to conduct the research on living human treasure. So that could not be paid because they did not submit the report, printed book, and also the invoice for that kind of exercise that was done. Then the underspending under non-profit institution amounting to 1.6 billion was due to heritage projects, which sitting in the entities, so the department could not pay to those entities because there's no sufficient information coming forth to the department. Chairperson, honorable members, acting DG, and colleagues, that is the end of my presentation. I thank you.
This report of yours is stressing some of us. 1.6 billion underspending. Maybe when we get to the discussions, will be more clear. Thank you so much, Mr. Mutambi. DG?
Thank you very much, Chair. I think this brings us to an end of our presentation.
Okay, DG.
We will then be guided by yourself, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you so much, honorable members. We were doing well. I'm seeing the hands now. Is the time for discussion. Honorable Mhlongo, Honorable Mahlengozi, Honorable Zondi, Honorable Adams, Honorable Joseph, Honorable Sibia. In that order, honorable members, thank you so much. We must be brief to the point in order that if we're having follow-up questions, we must have even that chance. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair. We welcome the presentation, but I think I'm stressed compared to you. Maybe you are 50% stressed. I'm 100% stressed with this presentation.
Why you gauge my stress?
I said maybe, Chair. Maybe mine is 100% stressful because we have a constituency, Chair, which this department is failing. It's failing 100% to service them, but they spend 98.2% to say financially they've spent it well. But when you come to service delivery, poorly done. Worst of all, there's irregular expenditure, there's underspending. DG, acting DG, apology. Acting DG, I wanted to find out exactly, you've been saying did not want to do this, we did it, achieved. For an example, you wanted to do gyms, but you underachieved on the gym. What was the reason? Because there's money allocated for that KPI. What are the reasons? Can we get more information? And the colors that you've used, we welcome them, but I wanted to find out the department is actively involved in different activities or programs, so to say. Let me make an example for KwaZulu-Natal. You've overachieved. Now you question sometimes less achieve, you achieve 100%. Overachieve, in other words, your target were less than what we expected. You cannot gauge yourself that you'll build 10 gyms as an example. I'm making an example, but you build 20 gyms. Now it shows good your target was less. It clearly shows that your target was less. What happened in different KPIs that you've overachieved, your target was less. Unless another proposal that I come with, Chairperson, apology. It's the issue, I think, money vis-a-vis the service delivery. I think it's questionable. Even the presentation cannot even follow through. What exactly is it? I think I question the planning target of the KPIs and the manner they put them together, even irrespective of the presentation. If they will say it's a standard presentation that you give us different percentage on the services, come later on your summary of finances to give us different percentage. I think in future I'll propose let's have all targets, budget, and the program. Each target, because we'll be able to see exactly who's underspending, who doing irregular expenditure. Maybe for them to achieve, it's irregular. That's why other KPIs, they achieve more. There was irregular because you cannot follow. I wanted to express, especially on the budget allocated for 98%, but check the services, not at 98%. Worst of all, I need an explanation under the 3 point, there's a slide, 3.4 budget, which was 3.4 for court orders. Can I get more details with that one? And I think the foundation SSOA to Makeba, the foundation which it's complete, but there's an MOI or MOU which was not completed. How much did it cost? Because it's still there standing. What is the status? And what are the remedy? How are we going to make sure that project succeed? Even the Nyanga project, it's similar to that. Worst of all, Chairperson, we have an acting DG. When are we going to have a permanent DG? When you check vacancies advertised, every year we have this item, every year, Chairperson. Now it shows good is somewhere, someone is not doing his work somewhere there, especially in the department. We cannot have 10.7 million underspending for vacancies. Unemployment in South Africa is so high, but there's underspending for vacancies. It's uncalled for. Someone must account. When are we going to have an acting or permanent, not acting, permanent DG in the department? I think the minister must explain, but he's absent, obviously, for other reason. But this is a standard meeting. Noted that we've noted his apology. What strategy are we going to have, especially with this unemployment rate in South Africa? It's so high, but we have vacancies which are not occupied in this department. Shocking to see that NFVF is 100% completed budget and services, but let's go to Auditor General's report. You questioned that. And Chair, I don't want to waste time. I think the DG and the department were there last week when we discussed the HE report. Can they give us responses? Because they align to this, unless I will take more time and ask same question that I've asked in the previous meeting, because they must respond to us. Worst of all, Chair, I didn't see, maybe I missed it, and I apologize if I've missed it. The KPIs for Mzansi Orchestra, where is it? I didn't see the allocation for this financial year. Unless it's somewhere, can I get that on the finances and even on the presentation? To have any tools that will make us, especially as an oversight committee, you know, we only monitor the irregular underspending at the last financial year, or like the last day, like as today. On month to month or quarterly report, we don't see that. Everything is smooth selling, hallelujah, which is it's wrong. Can I get an explanation with this less requested for the deputy minister? Can I get more information? What was it and how much was it allocated for what? And why did he ends the underexpenditure?
Thank you.
Yes. Chair?
Try to round up, Honorable Mhlongo. If one member is taking 4 to 5 minutes, we are not going to finish. Try to round up.
Yeah, Chair, I think the department took 1 hour and we are less than 7 minutes, 7 members. If we take 5 minutes.
Listen, don't compare. I'm saying that I will give you, honorable members, the second chance. I don't want that I'm stopping you, but I'm saying try to round up.
Okay, thanks, Chair. On the public-private partnership, why there's mixed alignment in the reporting of entities? And even, I think we are somewhere, somehow, I need details because I think there's a conflict or misleading information that I don't understand. Chair, I think the department must explain, especially on the NAC poor administration. It's there, it's clear. On the evaluation issues, even the department on the poor control, the impact that it has on this annual report, it's there. Both NAC, even Boxing South Africa. It's clear, Chair, that we need an explanation of all these. I'll have a second bite, Chair, because you've stated I must hold. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Mhlongo. Honorable Mahlengosi.
Thank you, Chair, and Jimlo.
Hello. Baleka nto.
Ndicela ukubulisa kubaphathi bale department ndicele futhi nokubulisa kumalungu abalulekileyo le portfolio committee nabo bonke ababalulekileyo le department ngokulinganayo. Chairperson, the department needs to give extensive information with names and companies and monies allocated to each and every one of them. Chairperson, we want to find out how much money has it been given to deserving artists and sports people. I mean, the president of South Africa celebrated a million mark for the distribution of PSP, while 1 million of artists are still looming in the dark, Chairperson. Chairperson, did the organizations that had nothing to do with sport, arts and culture, who got monies from the PSP, the monies that were earmarked for artists, did they pay that money back? Chairperson, since CIFSA came and meet our committee on the 31st of August, 2021, the question is it still happening? Is CIFSA still holding their general meetings? And who is CIFSA representing in the music industry? And who are the members of CIFSA? Can we have an extensive an executive member of CIFSA to come again and account to all questions that should be directed to them? And Chairperson, how is the Department of Sport and Culture funding CIFSA? Chairperson, what are the reasons why Fred Nyatela is constantly sending questions to the department and is constantly ignored? I would say he is ignored, Chairperson, because he keeps on sending questions and there is no reply to him. What is the department meaning when they're splashing all these millions, Chairperson, about the promotion, the development of sports and culture? Chairperson, the department is just talking about this. It's all about these millions being splashed and on this presentation in numbers only, but there are no facts given to the committee, Chairperson. Chairperson, what is this Operation Tutula? What is it for? Why is the department supporting or not supporting it? What is going on with it? And Honorable Mhlongo asked about the Mzansi Orchestra. I would hear because I had this very same question. And also this NAC, Chairperson, it's been going on for longer than long, and we have unclear answers about it. Chairperson, Zamap, Ndebule.
Siyabulela Mhlekazi. Honorable Zondi.
Thank you, Chair. Angibulise kuwe Sihlalo, ngibulise na umalungu ahloniphekile na kwi-department yonke iholwa u-acting DG.
Sibonile.
Ngizogawula nami ngiwahuqa Chair ngoba uthe isikhathi sichathwe yinje.
Yes.
Yeah, Chair, I'll be very brief, maybe in less than in 3 minutes ngiqedile anginayo i-second bite because imibuzo yami iqondile. Chair, we welcome the report. We welcome the presentation by the department. Though we have concerns in some of the units, but we appreciate the work done by the department in the service delivery, in particular of our sector. Chair, the first one, it appeared that COE was the main driver for the slow spending in program 1 sub-program included in table 5. I would like to know, Chair, what impact, if any, did this have on the department's ability to fulfill its mandate and deliver services in the sector? The second one, Chair, department noted the PERF fund were declined by 3 entities due to late approval of rollover by National Treasury, and this contributed in the department's overall total of unspent allocation. What was the value of these funds? and which 3 entities declined that we are talking about? Chair, the third one, does the department have the capacity to effectively support all entities and councils and boards that are facing challenges as we speak, that see us underspending in some areas? The fourth one, Chair, as the department have several entities and council, what monitoring and evaluation mechanism does the department use to continuously monitor its impact? Chair, the department audit committee noted the following matters that are still need improvement. They are saying it's lack of adequate infrastructure project management in the department, and in there, they are talking about the poor coordination, poor management, no constant reporting, delays of implementation of some of the projects, and also the lack of requisite skills. Poor management and monitoring of MOAs, ineffective ICT governance, delays in initiating forensic investigations where needed, controls environment in respect of records management. The internal audit activity did not have sufficient capacity for the 2021-2022 financial year, and was therefore unable to complete all audits as per the annual audit plan. And the last one, the issue that we raised is consequent management for non-compliance with procedures and prescriptions. Now, with all these above that were noted by the audit committee, I just want to know, Chair, from department, what measures have been taken by the department in dealing with these matters to improve services as they were indicated? Chair, ngicela ukuma lapho kwamanje.
Siyabonga mhlonishwa. Umhlonishwa olandelayo ngumhlonishwa Honorable Adams.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning to all on the platform. Let me also welcome the presentation from the department. Chairperson, I will stick to the arrangement of having questions and a second bite. Chairperson, in program 2, slide 27, Chairperson, according the number of sport and creation campaigns and events implemented, what was the rate of participation for each of the events listed? And in slide 32, Chairperson, this committee has expressed its concerns before on this matter. The question is, Chair, 8 years have passed since the construction of the Sarah Baartman Center of Remembrance, which was due for completing in 2019, officially started. We noticed a lack of movement on DSEC's attainment of targets relating to facilities developed. And that was shown in indicator RSPD 2.11. Chairperson, under underspending, notice that spending against the final appropriation has improved from the 2020-21 financial year. The department constantly fails to spend its financial appropriation. And under financial performance, Chairperson, why does the department not digitize its MGE application process to minimize the demands to a manual process, as DSEC does not have the adequate support unit to respond to the request promptly. And still under Finance Chair, it is also noted, Chair, that the annual irregulator expenditure has increased from 23.9 million in 2020 and 2021 to 105 million in the year under review. The question now is, what actions will the department take to such non-compliance? And my last one, Chair, there was irregular expenditure on the following entities like SAST, SAST, Robben Island, ANEC, and Parkhoffs. The question, when will the department undertake investigations conducted? I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Adams. Honorable Joseph.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning to all. And I want to welcome the presentations and thank the department for all the work that they have done in terms of preparing this presentation and giving account of their work. Chairperson, I note the circumstances that we're still under, COVID-19, and of course the work in KZN. I know that has affected the department tremendously. And I think maybe I should just start by saying that making comments on the 30-day payment and the boards that are in place, that are constituted. So there is overall, Chairperson, good work. I think we must not, when we do oversight over the annual report, we must be balanced in our approach and give credit where credit is due. Commend the department for their work and also question the department on shortcomings and poor performance where we need to. Chairperson, so my first concern will be still the low percentage of performance achieved, from 74 to 76. That is still low, far from 85% up and plus. So I just need to make this comment. It is still a poor performance in terms of what presented to us on percentage. Question I want to ask on the legacy project facilities, we have 5 targets under the model generation movement projects. We have 5 targets was set and not achieved, and then under that I think was also 2 and not achieved. My question here is that targets transferred to this year, this current year, or increased or decreased, because we do not want to end up with the same result. So the department must be realistic as to do they need to adjust given the circumstances they are facing. So I already commented under program 1, Chairperson, as to the achievements of the 30-day payment and the board's constitution. Program 2, I want to ask if this National Federation, under Recreation, Development and Sports, if this National Federation meetings, the target of 78% that was set and 57.9 achieved, if this is also a target that we must adjust if we that work is actually not in our space or in the department space. It's more a target that needs to be achieved by the federation. So I'm not sure that target should also then be adjusted. Chairperson, program 3, I'm also of the opinion that maybe we should look at, or the department should look at seconding. There's areas where we're doing quite well, and maybe the department must look at seconding directors or chief directors or senior managers to other sections where they are not doing so well. If there was a private company, they would do that to support each other where there's management capacity needs in other divisions in the department. Chairperson, I want to just ask the question on the heritage project, which was raised by my previous member, but Sarah Bartman and our Tambu, I would like to know what is the plans, because it's subject to Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. And the member already explained that history behind it, and I raised it myself in Parliament. And I think we need to move forward on this after 7 years. So the department must please tell us what the department as well as Public Works is planning to do. On the financial side, Chairperson, I also want to say 98% is actually not bad, although I support yourself, Chairperson, and Member Sepo in terms of 1.6 billion not spent, or rather correctly, 5.6 billion spent out of 5.7 billion. But the threshold we must look at, if one left oversight over the department and the financial side, Chairperson, we have to be realistic. 98% is a very good and a very high percentage-wise. I'm referring compared to many other departments, although the amount is still significant. You know, we talk about billions, so one have to be realistic. I'm speaking now from my previous SCOPA experience in the province point of view. So I think I want to say it's actually a good achievement compared percentage-wise to other departments. Chairperson, I'm concerned about, I'm embarrassed to hear that the University of Stellenbosch is non-compliant. That's a high regarded institution, and they failed to live up to compliance. Just a comment I want to make here. And then my last point, or second last point, Chairperson, just clarity on the non-profit organizations. It was said 6 million was not spent, but when the official gave the breakdown, slide 29, he only referred to 4.4 million. So I just want to know if I recorded the stats correctly. And then I think the administration is still the biggest concern with 92.4%, particularly in the ministry side. I only spent 77.6%. That was a low expenditure. That is a concern, Chairperson. And then my last question, Chairperson, my very last question. If I heard correctly, the constitutional judgment that refers to 2 million. There was I want to know why did we end up actually at that level? Because if there's a dispute between the department and National Treasury, or the dispute between the department and the AG, like what happened with the RIM, then obviously it's still internal. But the fact that we make reference to a constitutional judgment ending up there with a lot of money on litigation, I'm concerned that we've gone that far. I want to know, why did we end up there in the first place? Just clarity on that. Why couldn't we resolve that matter within the government structures? Thank you very much, Chairperson, for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Honorable Dennis. Let me give the chance to Honorable Sibiya.
Thank you, Chairperson. Morning to everyone. Chairperson, we would like to welcome the presentation. What caused the delays in the consultation and completion of the social compact? And what was the nature of corroborating evidence? And why was it found to be inadequate? The last one, Chair, targets were not met by the federations. But we would like to know, did all the targeted federations submit their data? And which federations met the targets and which one did not? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Sibiya. Honorable Malomane. Honorable Malomane. Honorable Malomane.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Greetings to everyone, Chair. I think most of the questions that I wanted to ask, I was covered on the issue of the overachieving. I was covered by Honorable Mhlongo, so I won't repeat due to the issue of time. What I want to ask now is about on slide 29 under program 2 to check on the issue of the target of the federation. I just want to check, did the federation submit their data, and which federation have met the target and which ones did not? What are the reasons for the federation not meeting their target? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Malomane. I do have some few questions to ask. Let me first and welcome the presentation and welcome the achievements. We have seen that the department does have achievements. And what is alarming to some of us in the presentation, once you talk about 1.6 billion, but as this committee once said, we need to have, I don't know whether it can, I'm not sure can it be, and it can be in Daba, that we must have a joint sitting or committee or what, joint sitting, because when you talk about insufficient invoices, those invoices are not supposed to come from a department. There are culprits in all what we're getting here. I don't want to defend a department, but when you listen and you look at how are these underspending are coming from, you will be seeing that are coming from other stakeholders who are not accounting, and that thing, it doesn't augur well to us, because when you are listening the tabling, you are just alarmed about the billions which are not used, and surely our department is going to be amongst the departments that they didn't use funds. But the thing is that we need each other in order that we must check what tools that a department can do, and maybe what have you tried to do in order that what is happening from provinces, from any other entity that is taking money and not accounting, but also other questions. The entity's performance in program 2 has several overperformances with significant diversion, which reflects the potential impact of the department. How will the 2023 to 2024 annual performance plan target be significantly higher than the baseline of the current financial year? Also, I may ask, what is the department's vacancy rate and what impact does it have on the entity's functionality? I'm raising this because since inception of the merging of these two departments, we have been having this problem of vacancies, and which means a department can't perform well if you don't fill vacancies. We do have answers which are not satisfactory to some of us, that we until now will be having such money that is there not used because you can't fulfill the vacancies. We want an understanding that you can share with us exactly what can you do in order that these vacancies must be filled. I'm suspecting when we started to have this measure, you advertise and you do interviews. Do you have any shortened period of doing interviews, of filling of the vacancies? to me, I'm not happy about the money not used because of the vacancies. And then what action has the department taken to strengthen its administrative support to ensure compliance with its general information management standards of programs and activities to the department spends on? I was looking at in some name of company sports million artists, but also I would recommend, as you are still discussing, I would recommend that the accounting officer should monitor the implementation of the audit action plans. Audit General was with us, and you must ensure sufficient monitoring controls over compliance with supply chain management legislation. Implement effective consequence management. I'm suspecting this consequence management, I don't know what is the tool and how can you manage that. It must be seen doing well with all what is problematic, because problems are there because of consequence management, and you must report progress every quarter to the parliament. But the department also should increase its monitoring and evaluation capacity over its entities and councillors. I'm suspecting we need to have something that we must propose and we must agree upon as a department, and with us being people who are doing oversight, that we need an immediately interventions by calling all sister departments that are making this. But until today, I'm going to say, until we pass this white paper, and especially even with the entities, because without that, we'll be having these problems. But I'm not sure what went wrong to boxing South Africa. This one other year or term, they are good and they do regress, but maybe department need to tell us the regressions of some entities here, because that thing, it puts our department in a bad picture when these people are not accounting and we having the monies which are not used. So so far, let me just stop there. Thank you so much. DG.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. And also, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the members of the committee for acknowledging the work that the department has done, but also for bringing to our attention matters of concerns that we need to attend to. Maybe there are colleagues here who have been part of this meeting, who have noted all the questions that have come our way. But maybe I would, before I allow colleagues to come in, Chairperson, I can't agree more with you when you indicate that we need to work harder in terms of monitoring the implementation of the audit action plan. And that's what we do, Chairperson, in our executive management meetings. And with regards to consequence management, and I would allow DDG Chikwatamba to talk to that, but I can also just briefly indicate that there are certain standards that the AG is expecting from us with regards to consequence management. But of course, Chairperson, it's very important to indicate that consequence management, it takes various forms in government. It takes the form of maybe depending on the degree of infringement. Then if it's an infringement that is an innocent infringement, what you need to do is to bring that to the attention of an official. If you have to come up with corrective measures of even building the capacity of that particular official, that's what you need to do. But also it is about even giving warnings where people can still be corrected. And then there will be instances, of course, where people must actually be disciplined to a point of being removed from the system. Now, as I'm speaking to you, Chair, the number of interventions that this department has done, for instance, if you look at infringements that happened around mass participation grants, where really there was an amendment payment not submitted to National Treasury in line with the Division of Revenue Act. So in this case, it's non-compliance, it's irregular. And then one official has been identified to be responsible for incurring the irregular expenditure. And then consequence management is implemented in accordance with labor relations, sanctioning guidelines for the public service issued by DPSA. There's an area here which talks about service provider with highest points not selected for appointment. 2 officials have been identified to be responsible for incurring the expenditure. Of course, 2 of them have just left the department. Then you talk about library grants, coordinators, procurement. 1 official here has been identified to be responsible for incurring the irregular expenditure. And consequence management has been finalized. And of course, in the process of requesting condonation from National Treasury. And then approval of shifting of funds not approved by National Treasury. In this case, also consequence management could not be implemented as the responsible official has resigned and on pension. Now, I'm just painting this picture to you, Honorable Chairperson, to indicate that we are implementing consequence management. And we do that all the time. But there must be a system that is being followed that ensures that as we do that, we do not infringe on the rights of the officials. We do all the due processes. And of course, where there are cases of fraud and corruption, there won't be any other way other than ensuring that disciplinary processes are taken, and then if they have to leave, they have to leave. But the consequence management is being done. Chair, I also want to just, for record purposes, with regards to under expenditure, I think our under expenditure, it's 103 million. It's not 1.6 billion. I'm not saying that even that 103 million is small amount. It is not small amount. It's big amount, but it's very important for record purposes that we correct that. But you might have noted, Chairperson and other members, that
I'm sorry to do this. There was a reporting by Mr. Mutambe saying that 1.6 billion, no sufficient invoices, and then talk to that in order that we must not come back to you. Talk to that slide that it was said so. Thank you so much.
I will allow Mr. Mutambe to speak to that, Chair, but I'm sure that it's not 1.6 billion.
Okay.
Maybe let me also then indicate that there's been an issue of around Sarah Bachman, and we do acknowledge, honorable members, this project has been delayed for a very long time. And I must also say that even as early as last week, the two ministers met, our minister and Minister Delil, to look at these projects, and also for us, together with the Department of DPWI, to come up with a plan of providing some remedies on this project. And the two departments are currently working on that. And we will be submitting the report to our principals. But we do acknowledge that the delay that has been dealt with this project is totally unacceptable. And we have even changed the way, Chairperson, of working. Originally, we used to be just a client to DPW without participating in key decision-making processes. We've signed a co-management agreement, the Acting Director General of DPW and the Acting Director General of the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture, where we will be actively involved in the process. When there are issues of variation orders, whatever changes that are happening in the project, we should be there all the time. And that's the way that we think we will then be able to overcome the challenges that bedeal with these projects. I would like to also indicate, Chair, that some of the under expenditure you might have noticed that as we were reporting, where we're giving, for instance, you go to MGE, where you giving grants to artists or people within the arts and culture space. Now, they would take the first tranche. Normally, the first tranche is bigger because you are enabling people to then do their projects. But what they do, they then don't come back to account. That creates problems for us because we cannot therefore transfer the next tranche. In fact, as early as maybe the last AMT, we were then saying as colleagues, going forward, these people who have got a tendency of receiving the first tranche and then disappear, we need to go towards blacklisting them so that we don't do business with them. We don't provide any support to them because it's not working in good faith. In fact, it's working in bad faith. So I wanted just to start, just quickly talk to that, but colleagues from DDG Program 1, if they can speak to their respective areas. Thank you.
Thank you, DG. Any intake from other DDGs? Yes, Mandy. Open you are muted. Unmute. Unmute, Mandy.
Is it not working still, Chair?
No, you were
I'm muted. Am I?
Yes. Yeah, start from this scratch,
Okay,
and then
thank
you can switch we have seen you, that you are live and fresh and beautiful.
Thank you. Good morning once again, honorable members. I think the consistent question, and duly so, that I think I must start with it, is the one on filling of vacancies and the impact of this on the organization. I think I just need to give a small preface to this to say we are a relatively new department and a department that is coming out of a measure. And a department that is still in the making, and I must say that making of the department was a bit delayed with COVID. So the process of finalizing the final grain composite of the department in terms of the final structure of the department, it's still in progress. And in that situation, Chairperson and honorable members, there is always a very delicate balance to be maintained the first balance to be maintained is that one of retaining the employees, because the employees are always in many numbers, anxious to say, when the new structure comes, where will I end up in the new structure? Will I be in a better or worse position in terms of my wishes? And that makes the department to keep on having people that exit the department. Again, we are an organization that is trying its best to be friendly to its employees, where performance is showing, and we are seeing that here there is a potential for progression of an employee. So again, coming from a very bad position, I must say, because we started with about 20% vacancy rate when we came together as the new department, and still we are not in a good state because we are still floating in the range of 18-point-something%, depending at what point in a calendar we are measuring ourselves. But the big figure that we are constantly carrying is 18%. The comma is changing. And within that, Chairperson, we are constantly filling the positions, but we are losing people and we are promoting people. And if I must summarize after this background, I could say, yes, as it's showing in our report, we are constantly carrying a turnover rate of about 12%. And if I can just use numbers to demonstrate what I have just spoken to, in our report, annual report, it does show that we had about 71 exits. If one is looking at our report in section or table 3.6 of our annual report. And these exits, of course, they also include some contract employees, because that's the other thing that we are constantly doing now, to say, in striking the balance in terms of what I said before, to say we are looking forward to a new structure where we are not very sure about whether this position will hold its future life. We are doing our best to make sure that at least we fill in a capacity through contract positions. Unfortunately, these contract positions, they do not count when we are counting our vacancy rate. So even though we have these people on contract, when we are counting our vacancy rate, we have to count it against permanently employed people. But I'm touching there to mention that there are in between contract employees. And I can further summarize by saying, if I just take some numbers in a specific time, I'll use certain quarters, perhaps using this year. I'm just looking at my report now. Between April and June, we filled about 50 positions. And of those 50 positions that we filled, we lost or we created 18 vacancies created due to people that have gone or people that have been promoted. In the second quarter, the similar thing happens. We fill about 17 positions. 15 of those, they are offset because people are leaving. I'm just using those 2 quarters to say that is the balance that we are trying hard to get out of, to say, how do we do this? So as a result of that, Chairperson and members, if I can speak to it right now, we've scanned to say, okay, what is the next batch? After batches of recruitments, if I can mention, starting from August, we between August and February, I'm just taking to the end of the financial year, we had about 47 positions advertised. Moving further, we had another 10. Moving further, we had another, to date, I could say we had another 50 again positions. But in addition to that, recently, as of last month, towards the end of September, we scoped about 72 positions that we are going to fill again, of which 36 have already been out in terms of the public service vacancy circular. And because we know that the process to fill these positions may take longer, average takes about 4 months to 5 months to fill a position in the public sector, or in particular in the public service, based on the different things that we have to do before we employ a person. So we said, to save money, let us also add on some contract positions that we can use to make sure that at least we employ people and we are using as much money from our compensation of employees. And as of last month, in addition to the 36 permanent positions, we've already advertised contract positions as well. So, Chairperson, I'm saying we are trying our best, but there is just this tide that is working against us. But we are also feeling like the committee is feeling on this one to say, where is our breakthrough? And we hope that we are going to reach, because that's the mark we have given ourselves, to say at least we must go down to at least a 12% vacancy rate as we touch the following year. We believe that these efforts will assist us. In terms of the impact, as I have already mentioned, we are trying to balance impact on the organization by bringing in contract workers. We are trying to reduce impact by making sure that we are speeding up the process of employing people after advertising, to a point that we even try to get external capacity that helps us to capture these positions or these applications correctly once people have applied, because that's the step that takes us to take long to get to the other steps, because we get very big numbers of applications, and all these numbers, or each and every applicant has to be captured. I think with that explanation, Chair, I am moving out of this item. It was just to give reasons to say what is happening in this space. And then going to the next item in terms of irregular expenditure consequence management, which ADG tried to respond to, but still said I must comment on that. I think as he has already mentioned, to what he has mentioned, I can add to say, one of the things that arise out of the process of consequent management, if I can just explain what happens. Yes, there would be a finding, and after that finding, we will do what we need to do, which is called a root cause analysis. After that, we would go to the manager and the one who has been identified as a transgressor to get responses from them to say what has happened. After that, of course, there are different things that happen, like ADG has explained, to add to what he has already mentioned. It could be issues of training. It could be issues of us changing our policies. It could be issues of us improving our standard operating procedures. It could be as well issues of discipline, as he has already mentioned. But this area is monitored vigilantly. We report fortnightly to the management committee on what is happening until all cases are closed. The same with the compensation of employees. We report quarterly to fortnightly to management. We report quarterly to our audit committee. And because these are both items on our AG findings. So even to AG, we report on these as they do what they call audit review meetings with us. And then I think the other item that relates to program 1 that has been mentioned is the issue pertaining to MRM. And the targets that have been met or not met, in particular not met. MRM has been battling with many things. It has also been battling with staff capacity, has been battling with governance issues. So many a times, because we are monitoring them to see if they are saying we are going where to do this and that, we would deploy some of our team members to go and check if that is happening. And many a times we would see that that has happened, but they would fail to submit reports, which is something that we cannot actively be doing for them. And once a report is missing, even if we know what has taken place, if the validation documents are not there, that is not counted. That's our system, that's our process. We can't change that. So MRM has been battling greatly with that. And I think that points to issues in terms of their internal capacity that we are trying our best to engage them on and to see how to assist them in that regard. That's why eventually, even with the financial statements that were missing, eventually we got them, even though we got them late, meaning we had already reported that we are not going to give you money, and we had not given them money. So that was reflecting in our report, despite that those documents could have come later in the year. So that's their greatest problem. Then the other one that relates to program one is the one on the social compact and the delays around the social compact. The process of the social compact has started some time earlier, and it's got its rapid pace, I would say around February, from November to February in 2020. Yeah, in 2020. And then there was COVID and there was a break. And then after COVID, we restarted. And then we started to a point of going to the clusters in terms of the cabinet or the government cluster committees, because that's how we have to process everything. And when we were at the cluster that has to process, that was this year, early this year, around about January 2022. When we were at the cluster, the cluster assessed at the document, and it felt the document still needed to go back to NETLEC. And that is where we are now. And then when we were at NETLEC, there was a delay because NETLEC was battling with admitting our document in the manner it is, because NETLEC understood the compact that President is talking about is something different from what we are bringing to them. And they thought what we have to be bringing to them, it's talking to issues of jobs and economic compact. And we lost some time trying to explain to each other where the two meet or where the two diverge. But as of now, we are gaining some momentum, but that momentum, it may make us to complete the compact by the end of the financial year, but we shall still be missing something on this target in terms of the implementation plan, because without the compact, there is no implementation plan, and it means that target will remain unachieved. And then the last one, that talks to program one, if I got it right, it's the one that was talking to NPI targeted groups. Because I'm trying to be sure on this one, because an amount was mentioned of 4 million to say what is the breakdown. That is an amount that goes to 3 organizations that have been identified for support in one of our slides. I'm trying to see now which slide is that one. Those organizations that have benefited have been even named on that slide. Porosa or Mama Beska Sisterhood. If the breakdown was asking to where this money has gone. I'm trying to quickly see which slide is that, but there is a slide that is naming 3 organizations that have received this money. Thanks, Chairperson and ADG, and everyone, in particular the honorable members.
Thank you, DDG. Any other intake?
Chair, I would propose that we move to program 2. You must not, in fact, let me let you to do, because if we are saying program 2, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm not sure whether when we are responding, you are responding according to programs. We're just listening, and maybe the way that you are conducting it is upon you, DJ. I must not change the way that you are. Yeah, I mean, my understanding is that all the DDGs were noting all the questions that are relevant to their branches, and therefore I'm just moving in terms of
According to that.
progress.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, no problem, no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you, DJ.
DDG Khan.
Good morning. Yeah, good. I'm just trying to put my video on as well quickly first. Good morning, Chairperson, and good morning, members of the Portfolio Committee, to the acting DG, colleagues, and colleagues on the platform. Thanks a lot. I'm going to switch off the video, Chairperson. Okay.
So the beautiful face, so your beautiful face.
No,
Okay.
thanks. Yeah, so it's not a robot, Chairperson.
Yes.
Okay. Chairperson, I'm going to respond to some of the questions, and I do have the team as well, and they would respond to other ones. With regard to the gyms and the underachievement on the gyms, I think there was a response in our report as well, but I will also defer that to Mr. Mokwera, who's the Chief Director of Infrastructure, and he would respond to that. With regards to the statistics and KZN overachieving, Madam Chair, if we look at that report that has a provincial spread, it must be noted that a lot of the targets that come from there and the achievements are based on the conditional grant funding. Now, the conditional grant funding is actually given to the province on a formula, and the formula means that not the provinces get different amounts of money based on a formula, and the formula says, firstly, we give every province, when we look at the conditional grant, ideally we would give it to them in terms of the equitable share. But we realize, Madam Chair, that if you provide funding on the equitable share, the Northern Cape will always get very little. So we started off by saying, firstly, all provinces should get 20 million rands, and then we would then give the province, then we would then take the balance of it, and then we would use the equitable share. But over and above that, Madam Chair, we've had KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng would always get the biggest amount, even if you use the formula. So then there was a self-sacrificing scheme of KwaZulu-Natal and the Gauteng actually sacrificing 2 million and 3 million rands respectively and giving it to Northern Cape. So at the end of the day, Northern Cape gets much more than they would if we had to constantly look at the equitable share. And therefore, as such, Madam Chair, you would find the bigger provinces would achieve more because they have more money. And hence KwaZulu-Natal, their focus, you must remember, Madam Chair, also that there was COVID. We couldn't operate in a normal specs. So their focus was very much on a lot of virtual activities and also, trying to look at smaller activities spread out throughout the province. And hence their achievements will be much more than other provinces. So that may be why KZN looks like they've overachieved and they've achieved much more. And then we note the comments about, the targets and the KPIs and being matched to budget as well. And then, Madam Chair, the issue of the of the federations, the issue of the federations and the which ones the delay, the targets that were not met and which are the federations. Madam Chair, it must be noted that it was a COVID year. And if we look at the federations, there are 19 federations that are part of the transformation, the EPG process. So of the 19 federations during the year, Madam Chair, there were 3 federations who didn't give us their reports. And those federations didn't give, there were 2 federations that had serious challenges, and you can see that chess has not presented itself today. So chess and both chess and basketball had governance challenges. And in terms of the football had not given it to us, and they came back, there were some challenges that they had as well. So, with regard to the other codes, the 5 codes that met their targets, the 5 codes that then met their targets for the year, Madam Chair, was netball, it was rugby, it was softball, it was tennis, and it was cricket. So those were the 5 codes that met their targets for the year. And all the other ones did not meet the targets, and that's athletics, baseball, bowls, boxing, gymnastics, hockey, yukske, and then there was also rowing, there was swimming, table tennis, and volleyball. So those were the balance of the codes that didn't meet their targets for the year. And then with regard to the, I'm just going through the other questions here quickly. There was the question asked about, yes, the targets and targets, I think Member Dennis asked about the EPG and the adjustments, the targets, etc. by the federations. I think what we need to understand, Madam Chair, is that we set the targets for it's part of the whole transformation charter and also the self-set barometers. The federations do set the targets themselves. So obviously when we measure them against the targets that they set themselves in terms of the barometer. But we must remember, Madam Chair, as I indicated, there was COVID. So many of those federations, there were areas of their targets they could not deliver on at all, because where it talks about international participation, where it talks about some competitions that should have even been held in the country, those were all cancelled during the year under review. And as a result, therefore, you would see so many of these federations have not met their targets because of the fact that the events were cancelled or some things couldn't take place, like your training and others that couldn't take place. So it affected then the targets for the EPG, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, with regard to the campaigns, the question from Honorable Adams, who wanted to know what was the actual numbers. Again, Madam Chair, it must be noted that the numbers were very low as compared to previous years in those key campaigns, the 8 campaigns. So we had all of our events were at a smaller scale because we had to restrict the numbers based on the COVID regulations at the time. So we had a big walk. There was about 500 participants. We had about 550 participants at the National Recreation Day. We've had the national youth camps, which normally we would have 200 participants per province, but we had to reduce it to 100. So there was 900 participants in the national youth camps. And our Move for Health was also held on a small scale. We had 1,200 participants. Our Indigenous Games, which we normally get about 5,000 participants, that was also scaled down, and we had about 1,500 participants at the Indigenous Games. And we have a Nelson Mandela Day. We did not have that on an actual platform. We had a partnership with the Nelson Mandela Foundation, where the minister participated in a virtual cycle, and there were 1,200 people who participated in this virtual cycle. And then we've had ministerial outreach programs, which is also one of our campaigns. And there we had a minimum of about 200. We had about 7 outreach programs, so about 1,400 people there. So that, Madam Chair, is some of the comments. I'm going to ask the colleagues also to provide their input. I think ADG has spoken about the Sarah Bartman, the legacy projects, but we do have the Chief Director as well. He can provide any further details as required. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to hand over to firstly Mr. Mkwera, then we have Mr. Nube as well, who can talk about anything under the EPG, and then around the mass participation, there's Mr. Teboho Tebahai. Thanks, Madam Chair. Ms. Mkwera.
Thank you, TDG. Good morning, Chair. Good morning to honorable members, ADG, and the colleagues.
Morning, Mr. Mkwera.
Thank you, Chair. I can now switch off the video. No, thank you very much, Chair. I would want first to start with the question raised by Honorable Mhlongo with regard to the issue of the over-targeting. Because one of the areas where we overachieved, rather under-targeting, one of the areas where we have overachieved as a program is in relation to the issue of the MIG, where we're supposed to provide support to municipalities. The target in that regard, Chair, was 50, but 106 municipalities were supported. Maybe I should indicate this, Chair. Normally, when we set that target, what would inform us as a department is first to look at the allocations that we would have made or we are making for this specific financial year, but also take into consideration the allocations which were made in the previous financial year. Chair would remember when we were even discussing MIG that there were a number of municipalities that took forever to complete their project. So we will also look into those and build them in within the target. Sometimes, of course, there would be less than the number of 50, but also make a provision, Chair, for those that are likely to be using their own MIG to implement some of the project, and now and then would come to us as an ad hoc request to support them. Because in any case, the MIG conditional framework also enjoins us to fulfill that responsibility, even to those municipalities that were not funded through the ring-fenced MIG. So in some instances, of course, we would get quite significant high numbers of such requests, Chair, and ultimately that would then lead us to a point where we would, in most cases, of course, overachieve as far as the target is concerned. But at least I've explained how we get about to determine the target. Chair, with regard to the justifiable concern raised by Honorable Mhlongo of the outdoor gym, because that is a very simple target. One must just admit, and indeed it may appear very unacceptable for it not to be achieved. First, maybe one should indicate, Chair, that 3 of the 4 outdoor gyms that were not completed in that financial year, 3 of those have been completed in the current, and the outstanding one, as we speak, Chair, the contractor is on site, and anticipation is that by the end of this month, the 4th gym will then be completed, and all 10 gyms would have then been completed accordingly. But the question as to why there was a delay, Chair, the contractor, much as he was then required to build 10 outdoor gyms, and he was appointed through a 3-year contract, which that year was, of course, this specific financial year we were discussing. There was a separate request that came for 3 gyms. One of those, just to cite an example, Chair, is when we merged, and there was a view that as a department, when we deliver infrastructure, the nature of the infrastructure on site must also reflect the character of the department in terms of delivery of heritage facilities, together with the sports facilities in a single space. The facility, other outdoor gyms of the 3 was the one in Winnie Mandela, sport precinct just right opposite to the house of Winnie Mandela in Brantford, because there was an open space which was previously used for sport facilities. It's one of those that actually were brought to us as additional request of the. And unfortunately, Chair, at the level of where these contracts are handled, there was some bit of a confusion, because now these 3 additional gyms were financed from the contract amount of that contract that existed. And they were a little bit expensive, maybe because of it was the code that came much later than the codes of the original gyms. And at the time we were supposed, and because now they were not even in the TIT for that specific financial year, when we reported them, unfortunately, they could not be accepted for the mere fact that they were not in the technical indicator description. And the 4th one was also affected primarily because of the code for these 3. It was a little bit expensive, and unfortunately funds were then depleted. But as I've indicated, Chairperson, that those 4 outstanding gyms, 3 of them are being completed already, and only 1 now will be completed at the end of this month. And then there was also a question, Chairperson, with regard to, asked by Honorable Zondi, issues of monitoring mechanisms, particularly in relation to matters of infrastructure, but also the aspect of inadequate capacity for infrastructure-related projects within the department. Chair, both with the entities and the municipalities, we do have constant and periodic site visits as well as programs meetings, both with municipalities as well as our own entities. Yes, indeed, Chair, there are a lot of problems and challenges that we discover, especially with municipalities. We have discussed that in the previous presentation we did of the MIG, but there are also serious challenges within our own entities, including issues of non-compliance, because we do have an infrastructure management policy that entities are supposed to comply with if they are to get the tranches of the allocations that they have made. In instances where they do not qualify, they do not comply the requirements of the policy, the transfers to them becomes very much delayed. But we make an effort as a department, understanding that we do have an obligation. It's just to taking a posture that you don't qualify, and that's where it ends. We don't transfer. Through our team of construction project managers, and we're still continuing to build capacity, as DDG Chikwatamba has indicated in that regard. We do try to improve the situation in that regard, to assist them to comply, and then at a later stage give them their money accordingly. Over time, we have been able, especially following the measure, to improve the technical capacity. We do have a number of engineers now within the unit, which was not the case before the measure. We do have quantity surveyors also, including the construction project management. We still have capacity as far as social meaning is also concerned. So there is an improvement, but not to suggest that in itself it's adequate, but there is an improvement, and that is why even the aspect of project planning moving forward would also improve, because people with requisite and required skills for that specific field are now bringing to the department. The ADG had covered the issue of Sarah Bartman within the context of the developments as far as our relationship with public works is concerned. But just to add on that, Chairperson, and maybe a bit of a detail, indeed, the memorandum of agreement has been signed to give a general framework of what would be the kind of relationship we have with public works, and ADG cited the issue of co-management. But the nitty-gritty detail, because we always say that the devil is actualized through the terms of reference for the Joint Project Steering Committee, which will of course be constituted by the 2 departments, the implementing agents or agents that are going to be working on the project. And that in itself would then increase our role as a department, not only in terms of decision making, but also in terms of troubleshooting, where variations are issued. ours through that committee would be to ensure that the variation orders are actually approved within the allocated time bars, depending on the type of the contract form that would be used for any type of, including issues of extension of times, because those are the issues that have somehow previously contributed to this type of delay. So we are not just going to be a bystander on this matter, but additional to that, Chairperson, we had also, as per the directive of the two ministers, developed a roadmap, and that is a document which the ADG was talking about, that it will be submitted to our principals. It was just concluded yesterday and is still to be submitted to the office of ADG. And from that document, if it's approved as such by our principals, anticipation is that new processes of procurement to get the contractors on site, those processes would then be concluded by the end of the financial year. And our execution plan indicated that at least for Sarah Bartman, we are likely to have a contractor back on site around April, because there is a process now that has to be including appointment of implementing agent, who has to advertise and do all those things and so on and so forth. And the contractor should be on site. However, we are looking at alternative mechanism to ensure that the sites still remain protected, but there are other forms of services that are rendered there through the term contracts, issues like landscaping, maintenance of the garden and so on, so as to keep the life on the site until such time we get the actual building contract. Those are the issues, Chairperson, that have been raised, which are applicable to infrastructure. And thanks very much.
Chair.
Yes, DG.
Chair, I don't know whether in program 2 there is any colleague who wants to cover before we move to program 3.
You know, the way that we must do, let's just say any leader of the department who wants to contribute. I've seen just now Dr. Kuman. Let's not call them by names. We're just saying that anyone from the department who want to say something after any member who's just DG finished, they must just chip in. I've seen Dr. Kumalo get in. Just leave them now, DG. We want just anyone who want to say something must just, when Dr. Kumalo stepping down, somebody must say that, Chair, I'm somebody, I'm Mr. So-and-so, I want to add, I wanted to do ABC. Let's do like that. Beautiful face and beautiful style, hairstyle, Dokotela, siyabonga. Shona khona Dokotela.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and good morning to you and the honorable members, ADG and colleagues. I am going to respond to the questions that were raised by the honorable members with respect to program 3, but specifically on ACPD issues, Honorable Chair. Just to start off, there was a question in relation to I believe the Danyana Art Center report that was part of what acting CFO indicated. We couldn't get approval from National Treasury for. That one, just to explain to yourself and the honorable members, Chair, was specifically on the infrastructure project that we wanted to start with the Danyana Art Center. I just need to explain a bit that the Danyana Art Center is one of the community art centers, obviously based in Inyanga, Western Cape, that we are supporting as a department. Currently, they are one of the implementers of the Artists in Schools program that the portfolio committee members would be aware of. However, we have also become aware of the fact that there is a dire need for infrastructure improvement at that community art center. And they had approached us and we then commenced with the process. The initial process commenced with an evaluation of the existing building and looking at options that needed to be pursued. And that was led by the provincial department, that was funded by us as the national department. So when that process concluded, and there were savings that came about as a result of some of the ring-fenced monies not being spent against the Semenya, the Keifa Semenya Foundation project. I'll talk to that also a bit, Chair. We then approached National Treasury, and that is what Mr. Rabelani was actually reporting on. We are supporting the Danyana Art Center, but we wanted to take the project further. However, as of this financial year, we have gone on with looking at the infrastructure development program for Danyana Art Center Chairperson. It's just that there are certain technical challenges that we are experiencing that need to be sorted out between the province, the municipality, and the Danyana Art Center itself, including issues of ownership, title deeds, etc. With the Keifa Semenya Foundation, I remember the honorable members did ask us this question, I think in August, when we appeared before the portfolio committee, and we had explained that the department over the years had supported the Keifa Semenya School of Arts or Academy. That is basically based at Jabulani in Soweto, and through the experience that has been accumulated by Keifa Semenya and Umama Uleta Mbuli, we were able to then reach a partnership for them to have this academy up and running. It was supported by the department in terms of construction to a tune of about 10 million. And the project on academy and supporting and bridging a gap, as we had explained last time, bridging a gap between the talents and some of the skills that are accumulated by the emerging artists and whatever is even offered at higher education institutions at a practical level. So that is the work that the Keifa Semenya Foundation is doing at that School of Art in Jabulani, in Soweto, Chairperson. And there were those savings in the last financial year that we had hoped could then be utilized in terms of the infrastructural project in Inyanga, which National Treasury didn't approve. Honorable Member Mhlongo also asked about, indicated that he didn't see the Mzansi Philharmonic Orchestra KPI in the report that has been tabled. Chairperson, as members would recall, in our presentation on the Mzansi Philharmonic Orchestra, we had indicated that the monies over, I recall, I might be wrong, but I think over the last 3 years, that had actually been transferred to the National Arts Council that were ring-fenced specifically for the support of the orchestras. Those are the monies that were then transferred to the Philharmonic Orchestra when it was then established by the NAC, because that is where the money at that particular time, or the funds at that particular time, resided. Hence, also we reported on the memorandum of agreement, the MOA that was signed between the Philharmonic Orchestra, Mzansi Philharmonic Orchestra, and NAC to play oversight in terms of the utilization of those funds. Therefore, Honorable Chair, you would then not have a KPI of the Mzansi Orchestra appearing as one of the KPIs of the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture in their annual report. There was a question, Honorable Chair, on from Honorable Madlingozi on the issues related to PESP. He spoke to the issue of the names and the companies that were given PESP funding. Indeed, we do have these all that record, and we can make it available, Chairperson. However, I wanted just to explain that with respect to PESP 1 and 2, which is the one that has actually been finalized, indeed, there were quite a number of creatives, Honorable Chairperson, that benefited from this funding. I do recall that there was a progress update that we provided some time ago, some months ago, but I just want to recap. When the last financial year concluded, in fact, on the 1st and the 2nd of April, in terms of the target that National Treasury had put for us as a department for PESP 1 and 2, we were sitting at, or the target for National Treasury was 33,746. And we implemented PESP using 9 different projects, which we have reported on. Ones implemented by NAC, NFVF, the Arts Bank, which is the National Museum, and others, a total of 9 different projects. And that gave rise to a total of 38,557 beneficiaries, exceeding the target that had been placed by National Treasury. Chairperson, we do not at all claim to have really met all the needs and the demands of the industry in as far as this funding is concerned. And I do believe that we have conceded to the fact that we can never have enough budget to meet the requirement of the creatives, hence the outcry would continue. However, we have a full record on the side of the department, because from those that were implemented directly by the department, mainly we were utilizing our own entities, museums, as we have said, and I will also touch a little on this when responding to the question from Honorable Zondi. We have a full record in terms of who the beneficiaries of this PESP funding, PESP 1 and 2 is. And Chairperson, we would be coming to the portfolio committee on the 25th of this month to further report on where we are with the implementation of PESP 3, which then falls in this new financial year. But in as far as the old financial year that we are reporting on, indeed, we had challenges. They have been reported, and the amount of allocation that we had versus the costing of the proposals that were received from the applicants cannot be matched at all at this particular point in time. However, our records do not show any organizations that are not sport, or individuals that are not sport within the sports sector or within the creative sector that we might directly have transferred the PESP funds to. Honorable Member Madlingozi also asked about CIFSA. However, he also said that maybe CIFSA should come again to report on what they are doing and who they are servicing. The report that was tabled to the portfolio committee on CIFSA gave a whole historical background in terms of how CIFSA was constituted. And we had also reported on who the current leadership within CIFSA is. It is our understanding, based on the business plans, the project plans, and together with the meetings that we hold with CIFSA, that the programs that they do are actually geared towards the sector, and they their target in terms of who they are servicing is the industry and the sectors that make up the industry, Chairperson. I want to go back a bit to the issue of PESP, just to respond to the question from Honorable Zondi, who asked about the 3 entities that turned down or declined the funding, the PESP funding. I want us to indicate that the reasons why they declined, before I mention who they are, the reasons why they declined, Chairperson, was because we had applied for a rollover for this particular public arts PESP, the public arts PESP specifically. And we received around towards the end of September, October, the authority from the National Treasury, or the approval from National Treasury. Now, we had a total of 10 different entities, most of them museums, that were going to implement the public art PESP projects. And some of them were not, I think about 3 of them were not necessarily museums. So out of the total of 10, Chairperson, at that time in October, when we then went back to those entities to say, yes, we have received approval from National Treasury and we are ready to then commence with the signing of MOAs, etc., etc. They then indicated to us that it was too late in the financial year and they had already taken on other commitments which would make them unable to really execute this particular public art project. Those were the William Humphreys Art Gallery and the Afrikaanse Taal Museum. As a result, so why we are saying 3, because the museums were those 2, the Art Gallery and then the Afrikaanse Taal Museums. The third one was the Gauteng Tourism Authority, Chairperson. And with Gauteng Tourism Authority, there was a lot of to and fro, even subsequent to us getting the approval from National Treasury, with them not submitting the required documents to us or submitting some of the documents that were incorrect, up to a stage when we realized that this just was not going, it was a non-starter. It was not just not going to happen. This is why then our report at the end of the financial year reflected an underspending against this particular project of about 2.3 million against the total of 7.8 million that we had received. So those are the 3 entities that had 2 of them declined and 1 failed to meet our requirements up until it was too late in the financial year. When, the acting DG has spoken to the issue of MOAs and hence the finding from the AG that was also talking to issue of poor management of MOAs. I want to say, Chairperson, this is one of the areas really that we are focusing on and it remains within our radar screen. Because we recognize that there are weaknesses, not only on the side of beneficiaries, but also on our side as a department. We have been requested by the audit committee to submit a plan and measures to deal with this particular issue. And also yesterday, EMT requested the same for us. We are in this particular case looking at the proactive steps or measures around, for instance, the tightening up of the MOAs that we sign, but also continuing with the issue of capacity building for our project managers and consequence management, where it's purely negligence and adjudication of duty on the side of project managers. So on the side of the beneficiaries, I think Acting DG did explain the issues around first tranche and second tranche. However, there as well, Chairperson, we are together with our legal service looking at measures that would ensure that these defaulters, they don't get away with this, because people are happy getting the first tranche because it's a bigger chunk that allows them to execute the project. However, when they then have to submit reports together, then be able to get their second tranche, that is when we are experiencing problems. Right now, Chairperson, we had about 403, if I can just indicate quickly there without taking too much of your time. We had 403 applicants that were approved for MGE funding, as just as an example. Out of those 403, we have paid a total of 327. Some of them, these are coming from the big an overwhelming figure that came from last year's 4,000 plus applicants. We have received reports out of the 327 that we have paid, totaling to 235. And these reports then mean that once we have actually gone through the reports and verified the correctness of the report in line with the MOA that was signed, only then can we release the second tranche. And this is the area that really takes quite a lot of time. And as I'm saying, we've also done an analysis of some of those shortfalls. Lastly, Chairperson, there was a question from Honorable Adams on or a comment or a recommendation of digitizing of the MGE application process. I want to just indicate, Honorable Chair, that our MGE open call process is completely online. It is executed online. What becomes manual is what happens after that. You know, once we have awarded, if I say, for instance, these 403 successful applicants, we then have to contact the person for them to submit compliance documents. And that is that has to be a manual process. And that is what really takes quite a lot of time. And as I said, there's both internal and external processes. Hence, the plan that we have been requested to submit to mitigate against this. So the Chairperson, there was also, just lastly from me, a question from Honorable, I believe, Joseph, if I got it correctly, or a comment with regard to Stellenbosch University. I wanted to just indicate, Chair, that yes, indeed, we had challenges with Stellenbosch University last financial year. And that was mainly as a result of them not being able to submit to us the authority letter, because whoever is designated to sign the MOA from that higher education institution has to have been delegated by council or by the vice chancellor. So if we don't get that letter, we cannot be able to process anything with regard to that institution. So with Stellenbosch University, that was a problem. They couldn't give, they said they couldn't get hold of the person, and it took quite a while for us to finalize, and we couldn't then finalize. But I do want to indicate, Chairperson, that this matter has now in this current financial year been resolved in such a way that even the processing of payment for Stellenbosch University has actually been has been done already. But for this financial year, we couldn't in the last financial year because they couldn't furnish us with the authority letter for the delegated person to sign the MOA. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable DG. Any intake, DG? DG?
Thank you, thank you. I would request, you had indicated, Chairperson, that if colleagues could jump in, and I had spoken to the CFO, acting CFO, to do that, and then after that, DG Chikwadamba.
Okay, DG. CFO. CFO. DG Chokotamba was CFO is not talking.
I'm here,
Okay.
Chairperson.
Okay, go on.
Thank you, Chairperson, Active DG, honorable members and colleagues. I will deal with the issue regarding the court order. There was a question regarding the court order that prevented us from improving the expenditure. What happened there was that there was a group that took Minister of Finance to court regarding the preferential procurement regulation in relation to 80/20 and 90/10 BEE allocation point allocation there. So the court order, the Constitutional Court gave an order or award that that seems to be saying this preferential procurement regulation is unconstitutional, and National Treasury, while reading that award, they issue an exemption to all government departments, which prevented us as a department, including other departments, not to do any procurement in relation to anything above 30,000, because anything above 30,000 will go through that threshold of 80/20 and 90/20. I think the fear was to commit irregular expenditure, as the court was saying that was found to be wanting. And then while they were seeking clarity, they issued that exemption, and then they only lifted that exemption in April, and we could proceed in April. But for the months of Feb and March, we could not do anything. That has affected also the payment processing, because all the things that were processed through, or that were awarded or procured through that threshold, was supposed to be irregular expenditure. But then they receive a clarity and issue and lift the exemptions. Then the department could then be able to proceed in the new year with the procurement process and the payments. And then that has affected our expenditure in terms of payment processing. Chairperson, I also want to deal with the issue of the overall under expenditure of 1.6 billion, as it was indicated, to give a clarity that perhaps maybe on slide number 34, I might have misread in my presentation 1.6 million as 1.6 billion, but the overall spending, the summary spending in our presentation is on slide number 12, where we are reflecting the 103.6 million, which is the overall under expenditure for the department. And there's a breakdown there for all the programs. 37 million, 20 million, 31 million, and 13 million for program 4. And that is the overall spending is 103 million. Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. The last one.
The last one is Mandisa Chairperson again. Just two things around the entities, Honorable Chair. One is around us not responding to Mr. Nyatela.
Yeah.
I think, Honorable members and Chair, I will accept if there is maybe a correspondence we have not responded to. I'm saying this looking at the rate of correspondence that is coming from Mr. Nyatela. Certainly he can outpace us, but I can confirm that we are corresponding with him, we are responding. If I can refer to the last response, it's a response that took place just on the last Friday that he responded back to on the same day, and by yesterday he had already another follow-up. So there are many things we could be not catching up at the same level of the responses, in the sense that there will always be something he feels it has not been responded to fully. And I must indicate that the last item that he has been on about asking the department to intervene on, it's pertaining a court order that was, and of course, as I say, that is the correspondence we are handling at this moment. I think I will stop there because the question was why we are not responding to him. And I'm just demonstrating using this as correspondence to say we are. And then the other one was on Parkhoffs and investigations. The last thing that we know that has been brought to our attention, it's issues that relate to labor relation matters. And of course, as the department, we wouldn't like to step in before we hear from the council on the other side. And even on this one, we are engaging with the Parkhoffs. We are waiting for a report as the responsible committee of council will be sitting on the 20th of October. So even on this one, Chair and members, it's just evidence I'm putting forward using dates to say we are engaging on these matters. Thank you.
DG, now at 12:30, the members must catch the buses to the parliament. I'm suspecting we've done justice as honorable members, and maybe I can check whether is there any member who want to do a follow-up question. If not, I must, okay, Honorable Adams, Honorable Joseph, in that order. But I was told that two honorable members are having a load shedding problem, Honorable Mhlongo and Honorable, I've forgotten the second honorable member. Remind me so.
It's Inkosi Luthuli, Madam Chair.
Oh, yes, they are having a very serious challenges of load shedding. Honorable Adams and Honorable Dennis Joseph.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, and please bear with me if this questions was already raised because I was kicked out of the platform due to network. But my question is, what lessons does the department drawn from areas that overperformed, and how can the department massify its impact as people are open to play sports for recreational and professional development? And then when the department officials have caused contractual challenges, what actions has the department taken as a part of consequence management, recognizing the negative economic impact of not spending? I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Adams. Honorable Joseph.
Thank you, Chairperson, for the second opportunity, and thank you to the department for the responses. There's one follow-up question, Chairperson, on Saki Bartman, our Tambo, a particular Saki Bartman. There's quite a long period between now and April for the project to continue. It's about still 5 months, but of course I understand there's a holiday period in between. My question is, at the previous meetings, it was indicated there's going to be joint responsibility between the department and Public Works and Infrastructure. So I would like to know what is the agreement, if the department can forward that agreement to us, to who's responsible for what, because the overall responsible department is or is our agent for us. Our department is Public Works. So I would like to know what is the agreement to come to resolve this problem about the infrastructure. And then I would like to know, Chairperson, do the department have adequate capacity in the management to manage this project from the department side? But that can also be response can also be forthcoming in writing. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Joseph. And when I'm having a right on what we are saying, I will ask the administration of us that they must apply for us. Let's do an oversight in this area of Sarah Batman. We'll ask that that on behalf of the committee, we've been trying to get to know what is going on. I'm suspecting like what we've done to visit Robben Island, where we've seen and we confirmed out of our oversight visit that Public Works, we are confirming that they're supposed to do what they are not doing. So I'm proposing in this question of Sarah Batman that let's try this time to ask an oversight that we must go there. Department can join us if the approval of our visit to Sarah Batman we are getting. I thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I thought that maybe it's our time to respond, and I would request that Sumaya maybe speaks to the first question that was asked by Honorable Adams. Yes, but I think that in terms of the second question, which is about the contractual challenges, whenever there are challenges of this nature, Honorable Adams, as I did indicate previously, is that first and foremost, you need to establish whether it's an inability to understand the contractual arrangements. In such cases, of course, you need to build that capacity within officials, because the idea here is to build capacity rather than destroy. But of course, where there are clear-cut cases of negligence, there are sanctions that are just taken, against those officials. And then with regards to Sarah Batman, Honorable Joseph, yes, it is true, it's a long period between now and April 2023. But of course, we are this time between now, it should be more about looking at ensuring that the proper procurement processes are being followed. So that we do not try and resolve the problem by creating another problem. But you are right also, Honorable Joseph, to keep on asking this pointed question about the adequate capacity. And I think Mr. Mukwera did speak to this in a way when he was saying that there has been a bit of improvement with regards to having colleagues who have been employed, more particularly in Program 2, who have got that technical know-how. But we cannot at this point in time, Honorable Joseph, say it is adequate. I think we still have to beef up that capacity if we want to win the battle against delivering on infrastructure program. Chairperson, I noted your indication and your suggestion that at some point maybe there needs to be that oversight that would include ourselves and the Department of Public Works. I think we will welcome that, but I would then hand over to DDG Sumaya to cover the other area.
Except that I'm being reminded that the 12:30 is for NCOP, not for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes, DTC. Suma.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Yes, to respond to Honorable Adams, Chairperson, yes, we have a dual mandate. We have a mandate of a winning nation and we have a mandate of the active nation. Now, within the active nation program, we have a campaign called the I Choose to Be Active campaign. And within that, we have, and in some of our campaigns that you've seen in the 8 campaigns, is to actually get masses to participate. So if we look at some of our activities like the National Recreation Day, the National Recreation Day is a cabinet approved day that happens on the first Friday of every month, the first Friday of October. So every province celebrates this, and it's not a once-off thing. A National Recreation Day is to highlight and to mobilize people to be physically active. And the fact is they should be active for 365 days a year. And then we have a big walk, which is held during the month of October. And historically, we've had about 30,000 people at the national walk, and every province has these walks in districts and even a provincial walk. But I think from our marketing and communications unit, Madam Chair, the I Choose to Be Active campaign has grown a lot, because there's lots of online platforms, there's physical activities that actually provides, an opportunity for people to participate actively. In addition to that, Madam Chair, we have partnerships with organizations like the Sport for Social Change movement that promotes active and healthy lifestyles through all of their activities. We work with Love Life, who also provides opportunities for communities to participate. And obviously, mass participation then leads to us doing talent identification and taking young people that we see as talented into our clubs and into our sports federations. So there is a conscious effort on our side, Madam Chair, to make sure that we massify our activities through the various programs and campaigns we have. The provinces do it all the time as well in terms of their activities. Using the federations also have their own activities that they use to promote active and healthy lifestyles as well. If you look at like athletics, there's lots of, they actually endorse most of the fun runs, the marathons that you would see, and all of these marathons you would see, Madam Chair, always has an element of mass participation through the fun runs, the fun walks. There's organizations that also, we may not fund them, but we endorse the activities like the park runs, who have activities every Saturdays and in various communities, where everyone walks on a Saturday morning, 2 hours or an hour. And it's a measured one, and people can run, they can walk, they can cycle. So there are all those activities as well at a recreational level that we would support as well, Madam Chair. And then we are a member of the Association for Fitness International and Sport for All. And constantly, they're sending out messaging to us. Our Indigenous Games is also used in terms of mass participation at a recreational level. All of our outreach programs always have community walks, big walks that take place. Now the imbizos that we host, even with the president, it always starts with some physical activity. So those are some of the efforts that we have, Madam Chair, but all aligned to the major campaign of I Choose to Be Active. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, honorable members. Let me take this opportunity to thank our department with all the responses, and at least when you did come with all this army, you made us that questions that we were having in the presentations before we interact with you, now they are clarified. I can testify, and I'm happy that Mandisa responded on Mr. Nyatela. I'm also a victim, I can say a victim of so many letters, sometimes accused, but I've been noticing that his questions, when he asked, is saying Mr. Nyatela and Mr. Mhlongo. I'm not yet sure what does that mean, but thank you, because as this committee once discuss and refer to the speaker, and we did get responses. So if there are new things that they are emerging, it's upon new department that assist us. Because some of us every week we do get emails from Mr. Nyatela. But I must say to our department that we have demonstrated an improvement in the financial and non-financial performance, and compared to the previous financial year. And was saying, and you should be encouraged to address key internal controls, also deficiencies that will ultimately lead to an improved audit opinion and enhance the service delivery. And as this committee, you are aware that even the AG was with us with this question that you are trying to clarify, Mandy. It was also the question that was raised even by Auditor General. We do hear you that you can take, which means you can take even the whole of this term, still wanting to fulfill vacancies. To some of us, even if now the what you call the AG is not happy about that, but we cannot force, but we must always say that try to make it happen, because this term is going to be about to finish whilst we're still talking about the vacancies. As you are explaining, you do hear you, but you are saying that something must be happened. But thank you so much. We are happy because we were listed amongst the departments who are not spending, underspending in some areas, even in some different caucuses. But now, when we are debating in our BRRRs, will provide the information. Thank you so much. Honorable members, I'm releasing our department now in order that we must deal with an in-house things. Thank you, Gigi, with the encourage.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, and also thank you to the honorable members of the committee. Thank you.
You are released. Thank you so much, honorable members. Mandisa, what do you want to say? I've seen the hand of Mandisa. Did you? Okay. I've closed the meeting now. Can we flight the, what do you call, our minutes? So minutes. Minutes.
Yes, Madam Chair, just a minute.
Oh, I'm not saying anything. Okay. What is the problem? Honorable members, we are tabling these minutes of start up of the 11th of October. Yeah, okay, go down.
Chairperson, Chairperson, Dennis Joseph here.
Honorable members, the only thing that I've noticed, again, the officials of this committee, you keep on underlining with the blue and red. And I'm suspecting last time, honorable members, they did ask, why is it so? Maybe on whatever you are doing, in order that we must not raise same questions. I don't know whether it's the way that you write minutes, in order that you must not have those in the red, those are in the blue. Honorable Dennis.
No, thank you for the opportunity, Chairperson. I'm not sure if my member Veronica van Dijk is still in the meeting, but I've read the minutes and I'm pleased with the minutes. I want to thank the staff and everyone that participating, getting a good reflection of the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Dennis. Honorable members, any proposal of adoption of the minutes? Honorable Zondi.
Yes, Chair, I'm happy. I'm proposing that we adopt the minutes. Thanks.
Any second? Thank you, Honorable Zondi. Honorable Sibia.
Thanks, Chairperson. I'm seconding the adoption of the minutes.
Thank you, Team A. I do appreciate your contribution to this report. I'm suspecting it did give us a clear picture what is going on in the department, the challenges, but the improvement and some things that are happening. Thank you for your contribution, honorable members, and thank you for reading the documents in order that we must come and contribute and ask not sweetheart questions. I thank you so much. The meeting is adjourned, honorable members. Thank you to our staff that they are always working. They don't have Saturdays and Sunday. Kukhona lo chairperson that will just call in the mid-evening of Saturday or Sunday. Thank you for that, staff of this committee. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you to all. Lovely afternoon.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you to all.
Malibongwe.
Igama lamakhosikazi.
Malibongwe.
Igama lamakhosikazi. Thank you.